Good morning, sweet world, and welcome to the No Dunks podcast on the Athletic Network. It's Wednesday, July 3rd, 2024. I'm J.E. Skeets here in the Classic Factory, and alongside me, it's the bearded one, my top shot hot boy, Trey Kirby.
Hey-o!
Hey-yo! And making the magic happen. We call him the super producer because he is. It's JD.
Hello.
There he is. No task today, but we got a special guest. He's a staff writer for The Athletic, runs The Bounce, an essential NBA newsletter. You've heard him on SiriusXM. You've heard him on Mad Dog Radio. Of course, Cinephobe, the podcast you love. He loves puns. He gets buckets. Back here joining us on No Dunks, it's Zach Harper. What's up, Zach?
Good morning, Classic Factory. Oh, my goodness.
Yes. Yeah, we got you up nice and early to talk hoops with
man.
us.
I've been up for an hour.
Wow. Are you so?
Yeah.
When you do The Bounce, again, essential NBA newsletter,
Thank
free,
you.
go get it. Are you writing it at night, or are you getting up at very early hours on the West Coast to write that bad boy?
95% of the time, it is done at night.
Okay.
95% of the time, I'm like 10:30-ish, I'm done, and I can sleep easy. There's some nights, a little lazy, might go till 1 in, but for the most part, I don't like to write early in the morning. I just like to observe. I'm more of a lurker in the morning.
Fair.
Morning lurker.
But
yeah.
sometimes, I guess, breaking news during the middle of the night, you'll wake up and, okay, I got to write something here. Slip this into the newsletter.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to, Shams will have a big trade in the morning or something like that. I'm like, all right, I can't let this go to the next day. Got to be a little proactive.
He ever hit you up on Slack? Hey, wake up, buddy. I got something big coming down the pipeline here.
Every morning he's like, are you up? Like it's been, we're deep in Central Time right now.
Yeah, because we all know Shams also doesn't sleep.
That's
He
right.
never has
Yeah.
gone to bed. Yeah. So it makes your life
I
a little
like
more
that
difficult.
there was, I think, last free agency. So I think this was a year ago. He shared his screen time, and it was like 19 hours. And then I looked at my screen time, and it was like 5. I was like, hey, we got you for the full day.
That guy is a machine. Well, we are excited to have you here. We're going to do some NBA free agency winners and losers. But before we get to that, we had some well-timed breaking news, at least in the No Dunks world. LeBron James, Zach, has agreed to a 2-year, $104 million maximum deal to return to the Lakers. Now, the deal includes a player option and his son, plus a no-trade clause and no damn pay cut. Thank you very much. So you woke up there on the West Coast, you wipe the little sleep from your eyes, and you see the LeBron news, Zach. What do you think of this? LeBron, 2 years, $104 million.
I don't know. It's pretty long term for him, right? I don't know if I trust this thing. Player option makes sense. He loves a player option. He loves including a player option. He loves that flexibility. It was nice that we had, a few days of, hey, LeBron's going to take a pay cut, and then the Lakers didn't really do anything. So why would you take a pay cut? Go get your money. I feel like at this point, he's almost made too much money. Another $100 million over 2 years. It's just, at this certain point, come on, save some for the rest of the free agents.
It's funny you say that because Woj did tweet after this news broke. There's still a conversation with agent Rich Paul and the Lakers on James, LeBron, taking $1 million or so below max to keep the team below the second apron and able to keep a little more roster building flexibility. TK, he's considering giving you the tiniest little pay cut because otherwise they might be really screwed here going over that second apron.
He just wants to loosen the apron just a little bit.
It's a little tight around the waist.
Yeah, I saw the chef Bobby Marks was talking aprons, and he said even if LeBron gives back $1 million, it's like 0.5% of the second apron. So it does get them a tiny bit of flexibility, but literally the smallest bit of flexibility. But that probably helps the Lakers because so far they've signed 2 LeBron Jameses and a guy named Dalton Connect. Nothing else has happened for LA. Even Dwayne Casey is turning them down to be an assistant coach. So the Lakers, LeBron said, I'll take a pay cut. Nobody was interested in that money. They haven't really been able to improve the team. But they got LeBron back and his son.
Yeah, one of the funniest interpretations I saw going around, Zach, was LeBron basically bet Rob Pelinka about $20 million that he couldn't do his job. I will bet you $20 million, Pelinka, that you can't go get a good player. Because if you do, I'll pay for it, basically. I'll take the pay cut. But Pelinka, I guess, lost that bet. Couldn't get anybody in.
What? All right. I never feel like I know more than people actually doing NBA things, right? I feel like I know a decent amount, but never more. There's a certain point where I'm like, does Rob Pelinka know just surround LeBron with shooters? That's the formula. Like, just go get guys who can shoot a basketball and shoot it at a pretty high level, and then he'll make it work. I feel like Rob Pelinka this whole time has been like, what if we got you Lance Stevenson? What if we got you Lonnie Walker IV? What if we got you Malik Monk before he got good? Like, there's just everything does not seem to line up with what we know about LeBron teams.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess at least the Klay Thompson rumors, that's a shooter, put him around LeBron, makes some sense, but they struck out on that, and we'll get into him going to the Dallas Mavericks and your thoughts on that. But yeah, otherwise, it was like Valanciunas, and it was even James Harden who needs the ball in his hands, and some other guys being thrown around. DeRozan obviously is a possibility, but not a three-point shooter himself.
Sounds like they need a Zach LaVine type.
I was
I'm just brainstorming ideas out there. But honestly, like the Klay Thompson thing is pretty indicative to me of where the Lakers stand right now. Apparently the Lakers offered Klay Thompson more money, probably a similar role as he's going to have in Dallas. And he said, no, I'm going to go play with Luka and Kyrie, who is like LeBron and Kyrie way back when. I thought that was pretty interesting that Klay Thompson, a guy that's won a bunch of titles, said that team is way closer than the Lakers are.
Yeah, LeBron will play his 22nd season in 2024-25 season. That's going to match Vince Carter for the most seasons played all time. And you slipped it in there, Zach. You said, oh, yeah, he's got the player option. We're going to be doing this all over again, in theory, next summer about the possibility of him maybe leaving. If he's done or retiring, I guess.
Well, he can't leave next summer, right? Because we might be giving Charles Barkley the farewell tour this year.
Oh, wow.
Assuming,
interesting.
I think LeBron's always kind of wanted a 2-year farewell tour, like really do it more than anyone else has gotten. So I feel like we're going to do the Barkley thing this year. I'm just going to break this news. I think LeBron plays 3 more years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would take 24 seasons played.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the question then. Do you think he will finish his career with the Lakers? He's got this no trade clause. Obviously, has the power to basically dictate whatever he wants. In addition to like sign my family. What do you think? Will he end a Laker?
Once you move to LA to make it, the only other place you move is Austin, Texas, to get away from like taxes. And so I don't think, unless the NBA expands to Austin in the next like 2 years, no, I think he's stuck in LA.
Okay. What would you, if you're a betting man?
Well, I just did a quick Google here to see when Bryce James is eligible for the draft. I think 2026 is the year, so I could see LeBron playing until 2027.
Okay. All right. Jesus, man. So a cool 25, a quarter of a century.
A quarter century.
That sounds insane. He's still good. He's still getting a max deal, and rightfully so. Okay, well, let's move off LeBron. After losing Bay Area legend Klay Thompson to the Mavs, we have learned, I guess this was last night, that Kyle Anderson is planning to sign a 3-year, $27 million contract with the Warriors. The deal is a sign and trade with the Wolves. They will receive a future second-round pick swap, I think some cash in that move. And now we're getting news, Zach, that the Warriors are also in serious talks in a sign and trade with Buddy Hield. Again, we'll get into our winners and losers. I think possibly when we get to losers, maybe the Lakers could come up, maybe the Warriors will come up. But just like a lot of your work there at The Athletic is grading these trades, grading these free agent moves. So Professor Zach Harper, how would you grade the Warriors offseason so far with Klay out, Chris Paul out, Melton in, Kyle Anderson in, and maybe Buddy?
I kind of like this team more.
Whoa.
If you take the names out of it, right? Like, Klay is obviously a legend there, and it hurts to lose him, but he wasn't the Klay of old. Like, Klay on the Mavericks is different than when you expect of Klay on the Warriors, right? And so I think that's good for both sides in that case. And if they do get Buddy Hield, not the same player as Klay Thompson has been, but he's still a pretty good shooter that does a lot of the stuff that you would want Klay to do, at least on the offensive end of the floor. DeAnthony Melton, as long as he's healthy, I think he's one of the best role players in the league. I love that pickup. I think Kyle Anderson, it takes him a good hour and a half to get a shot off. But other than that, like, he makes good decisions. He's a good defender. He's kind of maybe that, without the 3-point shot, that Otto Porter version of what they had a couple of years ago. Like, I kind of like this team better. Chris Paul was good for them. They actually, had good success with him and Steph Curry on the court together, at least in terms of, net rating and everything like that. But he's hurt. He's not reliable. And to swap those two guys out and bring these 3 in potentially, if the Buddy Hield thing comes, like, that's a better team. I don't know if it's a playoff team because it's the West, but I almost like that team a little bit better just when you take the nostalgia away from it.
Okay, sounds like what? What's the grade then? A B? You feel comfortable with that?
Yeah, let's give a B- with a chance for extra credit.
Okay.
Do you think Splash Buddies as a nickname has any staying power with Klay out and healed in?
Unless you guys came up with it, I hate it.
Well, we did it, so thank you.
Okay, yeah. I hate it. That is, I just, the Splash Brother thing kind of ran its course. What if I don't like a lot of nicknames these days. I'm also bitter because forever I tried to get Joffrey Laverne to be nicknamed Kilometers Plumlee because he looks just like Miles Plumlee, but he's French.
Yeah.
And Basketball Reference has refused to put it on there. So I'm really just using this opportunity this morning to please make his nickname, Joffrey Laverne's nickname, Kilometers Plumlee on Basketball Reference. That's all I ask
Does
for.
he have any nickname on his basketball?
No.
Oh, man, then they should definitely put it.
They don't call him the
Joffrey
king?
or something like that. No.
Yeah, no, nothing.
Man, now is the
there's
time.
nothing.
People are on that page regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should get the
High traffic page.
I was gonna say, can you still sponsor pages on Basketball Reference? You got to get the bounce to like just sponsor.
Yeah, I think I'm the only ISP here that has a purple link for Joffrey Laverne's Basketball Reference
just
page.
checking every day to see if you can get the nickname. Well, what do you think of the Warriors' sort of overall offseason so far? And they may not be done. They're linked to a lot of trade rumors with like Lauri Markkanen and other guys.
Yeah, I think they still need size, and that's why they're in the Markkanen sweepstakes. We'll see if it plays out, but I'm kind of with Zach here. I don't know if Mike Dunleavy's cooking, but at least he's in the kitchen right now, turning Klay Thompson and Chris Paul, who are at the tail end of their career, turn them into D'Anthony Melton, Slow-Mo, and Buddy Hield. Like, that's a pretty solid recovery, I think, and I think Zach is exactly right. They should at least be about as good as they were last season. That got him a 10th seed, unfortunately, in the Western Conference. But, if there are injuries, if things break the right way, that could turn into a 7th seed. I don't think they're title contenders, but
right.
I think they really haven't taken necessarily a step back, which maybe saves them from being a loser when we get down to it.
Let's get into it. Big picture, NBA free agency. We'll do winners and losers. We'll also do underrated signings here and maybe like the biggest question remaining. Zach, who's at the top of your biggest winner in NBA free agency, at least so far? Who would you go with?
I feel like the Thunder are the easy pick here, right? Because they were really missing one thing and they got it. And you can look at the price tag of Hartenstein with $87 million over 3 years, and it's crazy. But they also have this kind of small window where they can overpay to get a guy that they really need, and by the time they have to have all those extensions kick in, the money is basically off the books, and now they can kind of balance things out a little bit more, which, by the way, isn't the fun of free agency talking about like aprons and luxury tax. Like, that's what we love to talk about, not the basketball part of it. We love the legalese. Like, that's the fun part. And so I'm really excited that we get to keep doing that for the next 7 years. But I think the Thunder are there. I think the Sixers. I don't know if the Sixers are a contender with all these moves, but you swap out Tobias Harris for Paul George, that's always going to be a good thing.
I think those are two teams that are at top of a lot of people's lists. You don't need to overthink it. What the Thunder did, especially if you added trading for Caruso, obviously pre-free agency, swapping out Giddey for him, and then the Hartenstein deal, even though they overpaid, but get some rebounding, you get some hustle, you can get a little playmaking. You can now play 48 minutes of really competent centers. I think you can play Chet even with him at times. They'll give it a go during the regular season, see how well it works. So, yeah, they're good. And then the Sixers, TK, I assume you have them as a big winner as well.
I think those are easily the top two choices. The Thunder addressed the needs they had, got a little bit better outside shooting with Alex Caruso coming in for Giddey as well. And then we talked about Hartenstein. So, yeah, big deals for Isaiah Joe, Andrew Wiggins, and Hartenstein. But I thought John Hollinger made a good point over at The Athletic. When it comes down to it, the Thunder didn't trade any of the 17 first-round picks that they still have. So all those contracts become pretty tradable. Even a guy like Isaiah Hartenstein, you're like, man, $30 million for a guy who maybe starts, maybe doesn't, but is a role player on your team. $30 million can bring you back a good player if you're willing to attach one of those picks. So yeah, this team's going to get very expensive in about 3 seasons when Chet and Jalen Williams are both eligible for an extension, but that's when Hartenstein has a team option. They could move him at that point. They could keep him around if things are going well. The Thunder improved, and they still have their future completely intact.
Right.
Very impressive.
Because if they're ever going to do the push all the chips in to get a superstar player, you're probably going to need draft capital, which they, of course, have tons of. But you're going to need contracts. You're going to need players that are like your 6th, your 7th, your 8th best man to put all together to maybe go get another guy, another star. So, yeah, they were great here. And I just love Zach. We talked about it a little bit on a No Dunks pod before. Sam Presti, obviously, he loves to slow play it, no rushing with that guy, but he said, like, he literally said the blueprint. He's like, I want to see us in the postseason. So they win the number 1 seed. They're in the postseason. Everybody was like, you're too small. You might get played off the floor. But he's like, I want to see it, and I want to see what we are, and then we'll address our needs. And that's what he's done here, obviously getting Caruso and Hartenstein in there. As for the Sixers, do you have them, right there with the Celtics? Do you have them a second tier in the Eastern Conference? Are they maybe even a lower than the Knicks? Like, where do you put them if this all works out with Paul George?
Like, even, all right, the addition of Paul George is great, and if he plays like he did last year, fantastic. I don't know how you trust them to be contenders yet. Like, we've never seen that run from Joel Embiid, whether it's been injuries or whatever. We've never seen that deep run where he is just dominant. He's had some good series. He's never had that one dominant playoff run where you just expect him to be the best player and for him to actually just do that consistently game after game after game. So until that happens, it's almost like that Giannis zone before the title, the Jokic zone before the title, where people, including myself, are like, look, we know you're a great player, but there's a difference between being a great player and being a player that wins a championship and leads your team to a championship. We know Embiid is awesome. We just don't know if he can actually hold up and do that. And if he does, great, then he's proven himself. But until that happens, we've had enough years of this where how do you trust it? And then it's not like they added Game 6 Klay Thompson. As good as Paul George is, he has his own issues in the postseason. Like, we've seen Joe Ingles just completely neutralize him right, in a playoff series. Like, no offense to Joe Ingles, but that's just not the best resume for that. But he is a huge boost. If he's healthy, if Embiid's healthy, that should be a team that can maybe challenge the Celtics, but we also shouldn't forget how good the Celtics are.
Yeah. I do find it fitting that Paul George has the most all-NBA third selections in NBA history, and now he's, in theory, the third star, the third banana there. It's like too perfect. He's got 5 all-NBA third selections. Got a few guys on his heels. I think LeBron has 4. Which is a little weird. He could tie them maybe
late
with one
career
more.
selections.
But
nice.
Yeah, on paper it looks awesome. You've got your maxi point guard, you got your wing guy, and Paul George on both ends can bring it, and then Embiid is your superstar. And then they added Kelly Oubre Jr. or sort of retained him, I should say. Andre Drummond comes in, Eric Gordon comes in. They need a power forward.
Yes.
They're devoid of power forwards on this roster,
starter.
but Morey's still trying to go find someone. But what do you think?
The 76ers got the best free agent signing of the last 5 years. Teams don't really get players in free agency right now. It's generally, we'll sign the extension, we'll go back to the team, and then we'll request a trade. That's how most of the All-Stars have switched teams. In fact, Paul George was part of that 2019 class. He was a trade to the Clippers, but like Kawhi was the last reigning All-Star to get traded. So kudos to the 76ers for doing that. They turned James Harden and PJ Tucker's gigantic contract into Paul George, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a pick swap. Impressive stuff from Morey, but A, Embiid has to be healthy for the playoffs. B, Paul George has to be healthy for the playoffs. C, they have to play well, and probably before all of those, they need to fill out the rest of the team, because I feel like this is what it's going to be like for the 76ers. Every offseason, while they have Maxey, Embiid, and Paul George all signed, that takes up so much of the cap that they're just going to have to churn through these veteran minimum players and hope they hit the right mix one time. I don't know if that's going to be signing guys like Eric Gordon.
Yeah.
He's pretty old.
Yeah, I mean, Tass
couldn't play
him.
in the playoffs last year for the Suns, but why now?
Because he's a Morey guy.
Because he's a Morey guy.
He's a Morey guy.
It's a Morey.
Yeah, that's right. Do you have any other winners, Zach, outside of the Sixers and the Thunder?
Yeah, I mean, I love what Orlando did, right? Like, going and getting KCP, it would have been great if they could have gotten Klay Thompson as well, because we know how much they need shooting. But KCP is such an excellent pickup for them. It also furthers the tradition of players inexplicably wanting to leave Denver. We saw Aaron Aflalo do it. We saw Jeremy Grant do it. Now KCP gets to do it, when you think like that's a good situation for you, and just like, I want to go score somewhere else. But that's such a great pickup. Like, he's going to fit in perfectly with what they do defensively. Offensively, he provides a boost. I actually think he can score a little bit better than what people are going to expect. I don't think he's just a spot up shooter. So that was a fantastic pickup. It makes me worried about Denver and how they replace him. Yeah. But Orlando, like, if I told you they won 53 games next season, would that be shocking? They won 47 this year, add a really good player. I'd like them to go get Tyus Jones. I don't know if that's even feasible with the aprons and everything, but I would like them to go get Tyus Jones just to add to that backcourt. They
are really, besides KCP, which is a nice addition, they are running it back. And probably the right thing to do. You have your young superstar in Paolo. You think Franz is going to have an even better year. KCP, defense, can hit a 3. And then all their bigs, like Jonathan Isaac, got a 5-year, $84 million contract, renegotiation and extension. Mo Wagner's coming back. Goga's coming back. They were just like, we got a pretty good team. Like you just said, Zach, we were the 5th seed, put up a good fight in the first round. Let's take the next step. Do you like how they've approached this offseason, TK? I
like it, but I think they're neither a winner or a loser to me. They came into the offseason with a ton of cap space, and they're leaving with a role player in KCP. They paid Jonathan Isaac a big, long deal, 5 years, and the guy has played fewer games than Timothé Luwawu-Cabarrot in the last 5 seasons. Shout out to Will Hates the Nets or something like that on Twitter. But, he's not very healthy. He's a role player. They paid big deals to Goga Bitadze and Mo Wagner, which means Wendell Carter Jr. is probably on the way out. Next season, they used their last good top 20 draft pick on a 23-year-old in Tristan da Silva, who plays the same position as their best players. This was the last time I thought that the Magic are going to have serious cap space, a decent draft pick to actually make a move going forward. They're hoping that Paolo takes the next step. He was awesome in the playoffs, had a couple of near 40-point games, shot the ball really well. They're hoping Franz Wagner can shoot again. He had a down year from 3-point last year, but the way the Magic get better at this point is with internal development, because it's kind of hard to see them acquiring other players at this point, since they're kind of at the end of their rebuild with all of those picks from the Bulls. They got Franz Wagner out of it, and that's about it.
Yeah, I guess the counter to that, though, is who were they supposed to sign this offseason? Make a big splashy move for Paul George, Klay, like Zach said, maybe. You start to run out of guys. There's not that many big names. Obviously, KCP was one of the most coveted free agent names, really.
I agree, but it's kind of similar to me to the Sacramento Kings and where they were last year. They finished 3rd during, I guess, the 22-23 season, lost to the Warriors in 7 games. Really fun. They had a bunch of cap space. They brought everybody back, and the team was the same because they brought everybody back. I wonder if that's going to be the same for Orlando. So I couldn't really put them as a winner or a loser. I just felt like they could have done more.
Okay. Well, let's move to the biggest loser, Zach, of NBA free agency so far. Which team or player or wherever you want to go with this? Who do you got?
Now, I don't know if we're supposed to factor this in, but as you mentioned earlier, when you have assistant coaches turning you down, and it seems like the reasoning that they haven't gotten the coaching staff figured out is they've been focused on free agency. I feel like most people in the NBA have 2 phones. You can make those calls to both assistant coaches and players and try to get them in. The Lakers, I just don't know what their plan is. You can't. Last year they took Rui Hachimura, Jackson Hayes, and Christian Wood into a Jokic fight. That's not going to work. As much as that great strategy, if we put Rui on Jokic and it really scared Denver as they swept us, that's not a thing, right? Mm-hmm. And the Lakers, if Denver didn't exist, I think we would view the Lakers a lot differently. But because they do exist and we know the Lakers cannot get past that, we can't take them seriously in any other way. So they have to change their roster. Yeah, Dalton Connect might be a good player for them. Bronny James, I think, will actually develop into a solid NBA player at some point, but not anytime soon. He might have to wait for Bryce to be there before we get to that point. I don't see how the Lakers, if they even had a plan, came close to executing it. I don't know what Rob Pelinka's doing.
Zach's right. What is Rob Pelinka doing? It feels like the end of Kobe Bryant's tenure with the Lakers, when it was just basically the Kobe show. Come out and see him. Come out and see LeBron and AD, and now we got LeBron's son as well. They just got to hope that LeBron and AD stay as healthy as they did last season, and that they get fortunate with the teams ahead of them, because I think that's the only way the Lakers really move up the standings in the Western Conference. But yeah, I got them easily as a loser, and basically all of the old guard as losers. I would have the Lakers, I would have the Warriors and the Clippers, teams that basically up until this summer were like, if we got a problem, we can spend our way out of it. The second apron has changed that, and all 3 of those teams are a little spooked by the second apron, so they're downgrading, and their teams aren't going to be as good for that reason.
Yeah, I have the Nuggets definitely a part of this equation when you're looking at losers here. I know Hollinger sort of went all in on them, pointing out that the Nuggets have basically spent now half a decade cheaping out by trading picks, dumping salaries, skimping out on contracts to avoid or minimize that luxury tax. Now, they still won a championship, incredibly, but they do feel, the Nuggets do, and their ownership, like the rich friend in your group who still wants to nickel and dime everyone when you got the group dinner. And they're looking at everything. Oh, hold on. I only had 2 beers. How many did you have? And you're like, dude, you make more than everybody here. Why aren't you just picking up the bill, let alone just splitting it evenly? It's embarrassing is what I'm getting at. And it's crazy because even the KCP contract, they did not lose him to an insane amount.
No.
It was not like, whoa, my goodness. Like even like Hartenstein money where you're like, okay, all right, he's leaving because he has to take that. 3 years, $66 million. It's pretty embarrassing that they couldn't keep him on that. They said, oh, well, we offered him the same thing. I've seen his wife sliding into the DM saying, bullshit on that, you did.
They said we offered similar.
Yeah, similar. So
similar
it means
is
cheaper.
not the same.
Yeah.
Exactly
so
right.
I've got the Nuggets here, and it's like, it's similar to really what's going on with the Warriors and Curry. It's like you have Jokic, Zach, and you're nickel and diming it here. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is when you should be splurging, being a little aggressive. Now, they've given extensions. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, Jamal Murray and probably the Michael Porter Jr. one's maybe going to, bite them in the ass here. But it's a bad look, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should have seen that they were in trouble when all the excuses for them losing to Minnesota was like, well, they were tired. They were so tired. They were so sleepy. Like, I mean, yeah, everyone's tired in the playoffs. Like, I never bought that as an excuse. I actually think KCP leaving might show some kind of internal struggle. I don't think there's a huge alarms there for Denver, but for a player who is set up to contend there, to want to just go to an Orlando team, and I don't know, maybe a lack of state tax is very important to KCP. I don't know what his finances are, but I think for that to happen, and it's happened before, I do think there's something there in a post-Tim Connolly world where you have to be a little concerned that this team is not here to just spend whatever it needs to and contend. Because, yes, they lost this year, but if they came back with the exact same team next season, yeah, most people are probably picking the Thunder. If I told you, hey, I came back from the future and the Nuggets won the West, you wouldn't be like, wait, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Like, they're a great team, and they'll still be a very good team without KCP. But I actually think he kind of covered up a lot of issues that Michael Porter Jr. had, just in terms of not being able to deliver consistently. KCP, I think, was way more consistent on both ends of the floor. And unless MPJ becomes that guy that justifies that contract, outside of the title, I don't know. It seems like they're a little bit crumbling here.
Yeah, or they're hoping internally that Christian Brown pops off and slides perfectly into that KCP role, or Watson defensively, like some of their young guys, or rookie from last year, like.
Straw man?
That's the plan, yeah.
Julian Strawther?
Yeah, but that's, you're asking a lot from those guys.
Yeah.
And KCP is, again, he's the fourth or fifth guy on that team, but I'm with Zach. He's extremely important to have, especially playing alongside a guy like Jokic. You need a guy that can hit a three. And he proved over the last 2 years he can hit a three consistently, in addition to being great defensively. So that's a tough loss. Any other losers in the mix here? Two
other losers I would throw in: the Milwaukee Bucks and the Miami Heat. The Eastern Conference has gotten a lot better. The Celtics just won the championship. They're bringing everybody back. The Knicks brought in Mikal Bridges. They did lose their backup center, but they'll probably recover in some way. They're betting on friendship. And then, of course, the 76ers got Paul George. Milwaukee drafted two guys who, by all accounts, are completely not ready to play in the NBA at this point. They signed DeLon Wright, who should be helpful, but a backup guard. Mm-hmm. And that's more than Miami has done. They re-signed Bam Adebayo, and they re-signed Kevin Love. That's not good. That's not going to be good enough. I'm giving the Bucks a little bit more leeway here because I think a lot of their moves are going to be, hey, last season was too crazy for us. We're trying to keep it the straight and narrow here. They also have some trades they might make. Be interesting to see if Brook Lopez goes out. Miami, though, I don't know what's going on with the Heat.
Yeah, what do you think of the Miami Heat's offseason so far, Zach? Because it is weird that this is a team usually linked in every trade rumor, obviously aggressive in the free agent market. Yeah, but it's been pretty damn quiet.
Yeah, we've seen more from Jimmy Butler at the X Games than we have from them in free agency, right? Like it's been a little different there. Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is you've had some weird stuff with Jimmy and the Heat over the last 5-6 months. Like maybe Heat culture isn't as strong as it used to be. That's kind of the whispers coming out of there. Also, I think they were waiting to see what was going to happen with Donovan Mitchell, because I think that was their next move of like, and look, we've seen guys extend before and end up getting traded or asking for a trade. Paul George kind of went through that. Even Steven Jackson long ago got an extension with the Warriors and then got himself traded out of there. He went to the Bobcats, so it didn't really work out. But still, like, we've seen players do that before. It wouldn't be crazy for Donovan Mitchell to collect his money and then look for a trade later. But you have to feel pretty good if you're Cleveland that he re-upped. And then if you're Miami, that probably just complicates things for you in trying to acquire him, because I would think that the price tag for whatever comes back in a trade has to be more than Tyler Hero and a couple of picks, just because now you have Donovan Mitchell long term. There's no chance of him bolting for anywhere else. That just makes it a lot easier for Cleveland to kind of dig in and say, nah, we don't want to deal him if it ever gets to that point again.
Yeah, it's funny that you went with the Bucks and Heat, and then you think back to last summer where the Heat are like, we're getting Damian Lillard. Sweet, this is going to be awesome. And suddenly the Bucks swoop in there and grab him, and now the Heat are left going, uh-oh, what are we going to do now? That's fascinating. Yeah, just to get that news in that Zach alluded to, yesterday we learned that Donovan Mitchell has agreed to sign a 3-year, $150.3 million maximum contract extension with the Cavs. The deal includes a player option for the 27-28 season, and it gives Mitchell here a chance to satisfy the NBA's 10-year service criteria, which would allow him to pursue a 5-year extension in 27 that could be worth $380 million. Are the numbers getting high enough for everyone? It's
380 million.
It's what was it? Was it 8 years ago that Mike Conley signed the biggest deal in NBA history?
Yeah.
And it was basically
that lasted for like 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, but it was like 150, 160, whatever it was, and now 8 years later it's like double and more with these guys. But
well, isn't the number going around now that Wyc Grousbeck bought the Celtics originally for like $330 million?
Yeah. Him and his basketball group there. Yeah.
Guys, we should buy
5 years of Donovan Mitchell.
You want to buy a team, Zach?
Yeah, we should buy a team.
We need a time machine. We got to go way back. We got to go back to 1975.
Buy them all.
Buy the Bucks for like a quarter.
Yeah, we could outbid Red Auerbach.
Yeah, for sure.
1952.
For sure.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, you got a million jobs. You probably can afford the Celtics, Zach.
No, I'm deeply in debt. You would not believe how deeply in debt.
You live in LA. Yeah, that's not easy.
Well, so are the Celtics. They owe all these contracts coming forward. Just roll it in.
We have about the same level of debt right now, actually. We could just swap it out.
Yeah, it's crazy. So anyway, this is interesting the way Donovan Mitchell has sort of signed this deal, setting himself up for that potentially super max contract, as we said, in 27. But it just also kicks the can down the road a little bit with Donovan Mitchell, trade requests and stuff like that. But at least for a little bit, it allows the Cavs to breathe a bit right here.
Yeah, once the Nets deal went down for Mikal Bridges, it kind of made sense that Donovan Mitchell would be going back to Cleveland, since neither of the New York teams were a landing spot at that point. I think this is a little bit LeBron style in that he gets to get back into free agency when he's eligible for an even bigger contract, and the short contract with a player option at the end of it really keeps the pressure on the Cavs. So to me, makes sense, obviously, to bring Mitchell back. The guy's been an All-NBA player since he came to Cleveland. Yeah. What's their next move going to be? Because they want to play a playoff series this year. That was great. But heading into the playoffs, Mitchell said, I'm not trying to win a first-round series. I want to go to at least the conference finals and the finals. So I wonder if they're a Brandon Ingram team this summer. I wonder if they're going to be able to keep together Mobley and Allen, or what their next move is. Because Cleveland is in probably the second tier of the Eastern Conference, maybe the third, depending on how you're breaking it down. But at best, to me, they're like the fourth best team in the conference right now, which is good. But that's where they were last year.
Yeah, what do you think the Cavs will do here, Zach, this offseason? They obviously swapped coaches. I mean, they're going with Kenny Atkinson, so maybe it's just this idea of like, hey, let's see what he can do with this roster. Do you look to trade one of your bigs? Do you look to trade Darius Garland if you believe those reports that his camp was saying, hey, if Donovan Mitchell's here, like, I'm a little squeezed out here. I want to be a lead ball handler. Like, what do you think happens?
Yeah, I mean, talking to people around the league, like kind of when they got bounced, everyone seemed to think that they have two decisions to make. Jared Allen or Evan Mobley. Well, you're obviously going to take Mobley. He's better and younger. And then Garland or Mitchell. And well, now that Mitchell's signed the extension, you obviously pick him. It just it's a good team. Like Trey said, it is a very good team, 4th seed. Like that, you can pencil them in for around that area every single season. It's just, are they built for the playoffs? Like I don't think they are. They're improved, but they won a series because they played an Orlando team which is young.
Yeah.
Right? Like an average age of like 23 years old in that rotation. Like
that couldn't score at all.
Right. Couldn't score at all, and still took them to 7 games.
Yeah,
and it was kind of up in the air in game 7, right, for a while. So I think, Cleveland, it's a little bit of fool's gold with the playoff success this year. They have to balance that attack out more, unless Evan Mobley just becomes a dead-eye three-point shooter that teams are afraid of. It just doesn't fit in that way. I think you can get something for Garland, although the point guard's position is kind of saturated. You mentioned Brandon Ingram. I don't know what a trade would be there, but if you swapped Jared Allen, who the Pelicans now need a big man to put next to Zion. Well, Jared Allen would fit in really nicely there, in kind of a different role than Valanciunas just had, but still a valuable role that they would need. Ingram would definitely fill a need Cleveland. Now, I'm not saying a 1-to-1 swap. You'd have to figure some stuff out to make it worth it for the Pelicans, but that kind of makes sense to me on the surface. But yeah, that they've got to trade 2 of their starters and find a more balanced, more modern way, because that team, as good as it is, they can't really be the Timberwolves in terms of size of like, all right, we've got our 2 bigs and we can make it work. It's just not built the same way.
Yeah.
Even in the weaker Eastern Conference, it just doesn't work.
I think what's fascinating now, though, that Kenny Atkinson is the coach, is that he loves Jared Allen. And, worked well in Brooklyn. He talked him up a ton, I remember. Now he's there. Will he want to keep him and try and give it a go again with those 2 bigs? But we will see. Let's get to the next question, though. Zach, you get us started here. Most underrated signing in NBA free agency, if you had to pick 1 or 2, where would you go?
I mean, it was talked about a lot, but Chris Paul.
Yeah,
year, with that first year, Chris Paul is always great, right? Except for this year with the Warriors, but that was a little different. That first year, Chris Paul is great. He will teach them how to be professional. He will teach them how to raise that floor. This is something where, all the memes of guys being happy to be on TV rather than trying to get the ball to Wemby whenever he was even semi-open. Like he will fix all of this stuff and he will raise that floor. And it honestly, we have to see how the rest of the offseason shakes out. It wouldn't shock me if they made the play-in tournament next year. Like I think Wemby is that good, and I think he will bump them up. Chris Paul will bump them up that much. The fact that it's not more than a 1-year deal, and some of that is age, but that's perfect. That is the perfect amount of time to have Chris Paul on your team to raise things up. As someone who just finished the Clips series, it's going to get bad. Trust me, it's going to get bad. You just have to lean into this first year, and I think raising that level for everybody is huge.
You're telling me you watched all of Clipped?
Oh my God, it's as bad as Ballers. I mean, it is but in the same way, I can't get enough. I can't believe it's over.
Was it only 6 episodes?
Yeah. No, and one of them was like pretty much a flashback episode to the before time, like the 80s or the 90s.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's really like 5 episodes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Who plays Loy Vaught?
Who's Eric Piatowski?
I'm excited now. I thought it was going to be 10 episodes. I watched the first 3. Now another 3.
You're halfway home, man.
Oh,
Doesn't feel like a big
done.
undertaking.
Yeah, that's a good point with Chris Paul. I'm sure you've seen the graphic going around where it's like the team's win percentage before Chris Paul, and then that first year that he comes in, because he's played for like so many franchises now, and it just like jumps, some of them a significant amount. Obviously when he was drafted way back when with the Hornets, but you've seen it with the Suns, you've seen it with other teams, and that's what the Spurs are going to hope here. And will he even be there the entire season? He could just be there until the trade deadline, and then somebody's going, man, we could really use
a Chris Paul
vet point guard to come in here, sop up 20 minutes, run the show in a postseason, and it's a very tradable contract, so that's a possibility as well. But he'll at least be there 40, 50 games helping Wemby and that team out.
Yeah, it's going to be cool to see Chris Paul playing with Wemby, and Chris Paul will get a huge amount of credit because the Spurs are going to be better this year, just having Wemby on the team in year 2. So I'll make a prediction here. I think Chris Paul is going to lead the league in assists per 36 minutes.
Okay.
I don't know if he's going to play a full complement of minutes to be able to lead the league in assists, but on a per minute basis, he's going to be the number 1 assist man.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of oops, I assume, to Wembanyama. That's going to be fun. What else do you have as an underrated free agency move here, Trey?
I don't know. Is it underrated? Klay Thompson going to the Dallas Mavericks?
Maybe not underrated, but
you want to call Najee Marshall the underrated signing for the Dallas Mavericks? That was going to be my question for you, Zach. Did the Mavs really upgrade here, bringing in Klay, Najee Marshall, Quentin Grimes, sending out Josh Green, Tim Hardaway Jr., Derek Jones Jr., less juniors at the very least, but still, 3 wings out, 3 wings in.
It's important. You're saving on stitching with the back of that jersey. Like, that matters. Like they're cutting costs. They just sold that team. The owners don't have as much money as they used to, so that's big. I love what they did. I think the underrated part of that, and I guess I don't know how much he's going to play, but swapping out Tim Hardaway Jr., who was out of that rotation by the second round, for Quentin Grimes, who I think is a really nice two-way player. Can play on both ends of the floor. I think that's a great upgrade there. I think the Derek Jones Jr. Najee Marshall thing is kind of a wash. And I'm not trying to be down on Derek Jones Jr. It's just I don't know that his shot is reliable. Now, neither is Najee Marshall, but I think he can fit in a little bit better. I think his shot is a little more workable to where if he's getting passes from Luka, he's getting passes from Kyrie. I think you'll see him up his shooting ability this year, and it'll kind of look like a steal in that sense. And then Klay, no, he's not the Klay of old, but still no one's leaving him open. right?
No.
Like he could be 60 years old out there. You're not leaving him open. And so I think with Klay, that threat, and we saw, we thought going into the finals, is their defense going to be able to hold up? Their defense was actually pretty good. Other than like the first 3 quarters of game 1, their defense was really good. Their offense just went away against Boston's defense, and with kind of battling the West and how deep the West is going to be, how much of a traffic jam it's going to be. They're going to need all the shooting they can get. If he's only 38%, again, no one's leaving him to go double Luka or to go double Kyrie, and that's massive.
Yeah, but this is the fascinating part, right? Have they swung too far from, we were a defensive-minded team. Derrick Jones Jr. was really good on the perimeter. Even Josh Green, when he got in there, was really good. But we need more shooting. We need more scoring. And so they swing back the other way, and now you're going to be starting Kyrie, Klay, and Luka. I mean, that does not sound like a sound defensive-minded perimeter.
But also,
go ahead.
But also, think about Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington now get a full training camp. Right. Like they just got thrown into the mix and completely changed that defense with what they wanted to do. Having all that time to prepare now and get everyone acclimated, I think that will kind of balance out what you're talking about, because what you're saying is real. That is a bit of a concern, but they can find ways to get everyone on the same page.
Yeah, and that's what they're banking on. And look, we think Klay Thompson will start. I think Jason Kidd, and maybe that's even as an agreement of him coming to Dallas. He wants to prove that he's still a starter in this league. I just wonder how long that lasts. If he does struggle, especially defensively, if he is exposed, and if he accepts maybe coming off the bench, which he did at times. Remember with Golden State, remember he had that one monster game off the bench. He's like, maybe I should be like a Ginobili. And I just keep thinking, will Kidd be able to get through to Klay Thompson? Hey man, I won a championship when Jason Terry came off the bench and lit it up. And he played a ton of minutes still, and you're still going to play a ton of minutes, but maybe to set the tone, we start with somebody else defensive-minded, and then you still play 30 minutes a game, and you're our hero in the playoffs. Jason Terry was shot 45% from 3 on much fewer three-point attempts than Klay Thompson would get up, but still, I think it's a possibility. I think if anybody could convince him or whatever, maybe it would be Kidd, because he was sort of in that and saw it happen firsthand. But we'll see. I'm with you guys. I think that it's a bit of a gamble again, but it's cool that they're staying very aggressive here, trying to tweak what they thought were their limitations to give Luka a chance to win a title.
Yeah, for a team that when they made the Kyrie Irving trade followed the next year by the PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford moves, we're like, well, this is their team. They're not going to be able to change anything for the next couple of seasons. They completely changed their wing rotation. Pretty good stuff. And, I think the way the Western Conference playoffs played out this year will be very similar to this coming season. It's all about matchups, Right. So is Klay Thompson okay to sit down for Najee Marshall when the matchup calls for it? We'll see. Another thing I wanted to ask you about, Zach, because you cover the entire league just like we do. However, we live in Atlanta, came from Toronto and Chicago, so we talk about the Hawks, the Raptors, and the Bulls a lot. Do you care about these teams at all?
Yeah, I love Scotty Barnes, right? I'm a big Scotty Barnes guy. Good. Zach LaVine is very near and dear to my heart.
Timberwolf,
yeah. Yeah, Timberwolves history. He was, I talked to him a bunch as a rookie. He was really great. There was a rumor at one time that maybe I would do some Wolves game op stuff with Zach to Zach and talk some movies. Never materialized.
Zach to Zach.
It was a little conversation here and there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the Hawks. I mean, man, I've wanted the Hawks to be good for 3 years now. Ever since they made the conference finals, I've been this is a talented team. They can win, and they just don't. And so I feel very invested. I was very invested in Jalen Johnson. So the fact that he had a big year last year was fun for me. We'll see if that DeJounte Murray trade ends up being what helps fix them. I don't really think it is, but I don't know what they do.
Are you a Trae Young apologist or a Trae Young hater? Okay, because people, it feels like it's one or the other.
I want him to, I think he's really good, but I think there's a difference between really good and knowing how to consistently win. And I think that's the next step for him. We've seen him win a little bit, but he's just got to do more of the little things, more of the leadership stuff. And it doesn't even have to be the big, rah locker room guy. You don't need that, but you have to do things a certain way on the court, certain way in practice to kind of up the professionalism. And I think that's been the problem with the Hawks. I don't know where the accountability is, and at a certain point, it's got to be with the star.
The Hawks haven't won a playoff series since 2021. The Raptors haven't won one since 2020. And the Bulls haven't won one since 2015. Which of these no-dunks teams wins a first-round playoff series next. It's literally going to be a decade for the Bulls. Wow. This year.
That's tough because
they all seem pretty far away.
I don't know that the Bulls are going to be great next year.
No.
Probably not. I'll go the Hawks. Oh, actually, I don't know.
That's a tough call, man.
Give me the Raptors. Yeah.
Go the Raptors. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know how they do it either, but I just, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't.
They've got an all-star at least.
Question.
I don't think it's next season. I'll tell you that. But maybe they're first there out of those three teams. All right. Final question with big picture free agency. What is the biggest question remaining to you after 3 days now of all the free agency?
Yeah.
We've had a lot of signings, but there's some big names and obviously some potential trades. What do you got your eye on here?
Probably. Look, it should be, where's DeMar DeRozan going? Is Lauri Markkanen going to get traded? Mm-hmm. Is Brandon Ingram going to trade? Those should be the questions that I have. Mine's just, how do we get Tyus Jones away from the Wizards? That's all I care about. Like, I'm such a big Tyus Jones guy. I think he's a very, very good point guard. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's a great playmaker. He hits shots. He's small, but he still defends. He's someone that would fit on so many teams, and I'm so worried he's about to go the Kuzma route of just, hey, take your money with the Wizards. Don't worry. We'll trade you down the road, and then it just never happens.
Man, I thought I loved Tyus Jones, but you love him even more than I do.
Oh, my goodness. I'm going to replace this Jimmy art with Tyus. Like, I have to,
he did prove himself. I know it was with the Wizards, and they didn't win a lot of games. But I remember when he goes there, everyone's like, yeah, but he has all these great numbers in a limited role for other teams. Can he do it as a starter? His efficiency, watch, it's going to cater. And it didn't. He got even better. So he is a good, at least, he's not a top point guard by any means. He's probably... he would be the best backup point guard in the league. So you just want him out of Washington. You just want to save the poor guy is what you're getting.
Yeah, although, there is part of me, and I think I tweeted this the other day, but I don't know if you guys remember this Lithuanian All-Star game from about 13, 14 years ago where Jonas Valanciunas stormed the court dressed as an actual Wizard.
Oh, yes.
Like not a Washington Wizard. Yeah.
Yep.
Now he's completed the journey of being a Washington Wizard. Maybe that is the magic that they need to lift up their spirits and to probably not. They're probably going to win like 19 games. Yeah. But I'm kind of obsessed with the Wizards in this very weird, almost pervasive way. Like for summer, I can't get enough. They can't play a normal basketball game over the last 3 years. Everything's weird with them. I like Koulibaly. I like Kuzma. I like Tyus Jones. There's even part of me that wants to like Jordan Poole. There's so much of this team that I'm fascinated by, and it's just a train wreck. And I want better for all of them, and I think that probably means they all leave.
Right.
But I don't know. Maybe we've seen Disney movies before where things come together. Maybe they'll be the next one. Maybe they'll be the new Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, the Misfits.
Hey, Jonas Valanciunas, man, that guy is a play-in legend. He's played in every play-in tournament so far, dating back to 2020 with the Grizzlies, and you guessed it, Tyus Jones.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Washington seed?
Wow.
Wow.
That surprises me. He's played in every one. He's good. I mean, I like we talked about it already, but the move of like bringing him in caught a lot of us by surprise. Like, whoa, what? Valanciunas is going there? But, you save Alex Sarr, you save his body a little bit, doesn't have to play the center position. They maybe just trade him. I think they will eventually to another team. But I don't think they're going to be good.
Jonas Valanciunas is the Tyus Jones of big men. They're fine, guys. They're fine. They're in the bottom 10 at the starting positions in their positions.
Yeah, but they are we think they're difference makers to good teams.
I disagree.
Okay.
I think they're guys for different teams.
I don't know. I mean, I guess
in their career. Look at their careers. They've been on teams.
Well, I will say
you don't like the play-in tournament then because you said
he should love the play-in tournament.
I love the play-in tournament.
Yeah. Bulls are always there. Do you have any other big questions, TK, with free agency?
Do you consider trade season different than free agency season? Because it feels like free agency is almost over. Yes. We got DeRozan figuring out where he's going to go, and man, he is getting squeezed right now to where it feels like he's going to almost fit into trade season. Because I feel like the question marks we have right now, number one is where's DeRozan going? It might be a sign and trade with the Kings. Then we got Markkanen up in the air, the guys from the Nets who are still there, and Dorian Finney-Smith and Cam Johnson, and then Ingram, Levine, Jeremy Grant is a name that's coming up for the Lakers a lot right now, and then the Kings with Herter and Harrison Barnes. I just can't really tell if these should be separate from each other, free agency and trade season.
I threw this out on Twitter yesterday. I instantly regretted it because holy crap, my mentions wouldn't stop because people just went back and forth, back and forth. Kevin O'Connor threw out a trade proposal, Zach, of Keegan Murray, Kevin Huerter, and then draft capital, bunch of draft picks to get Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler. So I shared that tweet, and again, holy crap, you know.
But how does that work? Like, you're going to put Sabonis and Markkanen together defensively? That's not good. Well, I'm sorry, I forgot Sabonis got an all-defensive vote.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so all right, maybe I'm on the wrong side of that one. I don't think I like that deal. I think if you're going to give up Keegan Murray, who I'm big on, like I do think it has to be a major player like Lauri Markkanen, but I don't think the fit there works at all for what they want. I think that would be so jumbled for Sacramento, and then for Utah, like, yeah, it depends on the draft capital. If you get Keegan Murray out of Lauri Markkanen, that's a big win for you.
Yeah.
So I don't really have a problem for that end. I just don't see how that makes the Kings definitely better. It makes them weirder, but I don't know that that's the goal.
Yeah. Well, you weren't alone. There was a lot of, what the hell are you talking about, KOC?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that. But there were some people like, yeah, sort of like, okay, I understand the idea of like the Jazz, like you said, getting a young, really promising guy in Keegan Murray, Huerter and shooting. Then you get the draft picks. Like, that's the thing. Like, Danny Ainge definitely saw what Mikal Bridges went for and is like, oh, hold on. We got Lauri Markkanen. This guy's 25-8, man. Maybe not part of our long-term plans. We're going to get a whole lot for him. And so he's like, sort of, that's why we get these rumors. I also just don't think anything's going to materialize with him now, at least here during the summer, but maybe moving forward. It feels most likely still that Brandon Ingram is the big name, I think, moved here, just because like David Griffin basically told us that was going to be the play.
And then they brought in DeJounte Murray, little Brandon Ingram.
Right. So we'll see there. But yeah, any other thoughts from either of you guys? Zach, anything else on free agency or trade season moving forward, or what you're doing for the 4th of July?
4th of July, you know what? I'll put his name out there. I'm going to be at comedian Ian Carmel's house.
There we go.
Celebrating the 4th and eating grilled meats and, buying his book. Go buy his book, T-Shirt Swim Club. I'll promote it.
I can see it there in the bottom corner of your screen.
Yeah,
nice.
Is this going to be a shirts on in the pool party?
There is no pool yet, as far as I know, but maybe I'll dig one. I don't know. I've seen Encino, man. You can dig a pool pretty quickly.
You got a day. You got today to dig one. Yeah. Okay, well, that's fun. What happens if a big trade breaks while you're at this party and you got a hot dog? Do you have to leave the party? What do you got to do?
No, when Damian Lillard got traded, I was walking the streets of Portland. I was in Portland on a little vacation. I wrote the article on my phone, sent it in. They made it all pretty and edited it to make it coherent. You can do that. I will be pretty drunk, so please don't trade anybody on Thursday. But I don't want to put down the brisket or whatever meats are being. I just know that a lot of meat was delivered.
Did Kevin Durant officially sign with the Warriors on July 4th?
I think you're right.
I think that happened, and that was not fun.
We have to check the date on that Players Tribune article. But I'm pretty sure it's July 4th.
It's up there. We'll go check that out. So before we go, we do have some, I was going to say sad news, but not really. Kemba Walker, the all-time leading scorer in Charlotte Hornets history, 4-time All-Star in 12 NBA seasons. He announced his basketball retirement on Tuesday. In a social media post, Kemba wrote, "Basketball has done more for me than I could have ever imagined. I am super thankful for the amazing journey I've had. With that, I'm here to share that I'm officially retiring from the game of basketball. This has been a dream. When I look back, I still can't believe the things I achieved in my career." Kemba Walker fan, Zach Harper, and any thoughts on him officially retiring? Yeah, I thought you were. Yeah.
I will say this: Kemba Walker is to James Harden's step back jumper as Dr. J was to Michael Jordan's dunk. That kind of makes sense in my head.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Nice. Like Dr. J was like, oh my God, he's the most impressive dunker ever. And then Michael Jordan came around and it changed things, right?
Right.
Kemba Walker was doing that sidestep, that step back jumper at a very elite level in college before James Harden was making it a real thing in the NBA as much. So I think Kemba Walker, we should maybe celebrate his step back and his sidestep jumper before we start, giving everybody else the credit for making this a thing in the NBA.
Yeah, that's well said. I was shocked to see he averaged over 19 points per game in his 12-year career, which is pretty damn impressive. Spent a lot of that time with the Hornets early on. He is their franchise leader in scoring still. 2 seasons with the Celtics. He was an all-star in one of those years, and then 1 season with the Knicks. Mavs, obviously knee injuries did him in, TK, but any thoughts on Kemba Walker saying goodbye?
I think that the Hornets should retire his jersey. Bobby Phills is the only retired jersey that the Hornets have right now from back, I guess, I don't know if that was the early 2000s, late 90s, whichever one, but as the all-time leading scorer, a good guy, somebody that made the Hornets exciting to watch. He was a Bobcat for a little bit of time as well, so he crosses the era, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he definitely was his first 3 years of his career. So I think they should definitely hang Kemba Walker's jersey in the rafters.
And, I mean, yeah, you talk about those step backs in college. I mean, he basically single-handedly led that UConn team to that run to win the championship way back in 2011. Incredible stuff. Kemba Walker, he is officially retired. Zach, can't thank you enough for jumping on here. Day before, you got to go to a pool party that you have to dig the pool for. Will you be watching 1996's Independence Day at any point today or tomorrow?
Oh, for sure. No, that has to. It's like Die Hard on Christmas. Like that's just got to be on a loop all day long.
That'll be at the party.
You check in, you're like, oh wow, Jeff Goldblum. You know, he's really figuring things out. Like you gotta keep an eye on that. Maybe it'll be on my phone the whole time. I don't know, but you definitely have to watch it. And guess I might even watch the sequel. It's terrible, but I might watch. I like some bad movies.
There's a sequel to Independence Day?
Oh yeah,
July 5th.
It's July 5th. It's just the day,
Not as exciting.
the day after.
It's called the day after tomorrow. Wow. When did this come out?
8 years ago?
Oh, 6 years ago?
Something like that.
Didn't honestly. Is Will Smith in it?
No, well, there's a picture of him. It's his son in the movie.
Oh,
it's his son,
Bronny Jr.
Not Jaden Smith, but like the son of the character.
Oh,
Independence Day Resurgence.
Resurgence.
So
that's
what? They come back.
There might be a Hemsworth in that movie.
Wow.
Somebody, yeah.
Is there a new president, I assume?
I don't think that one survived. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Well, this is all news to me. Exciting
Well, you got all day to watch it.
I know. I figured out my day.
Jeff Goldblum is back. Wait a second. How is Bill Pullman back? President Whitmore.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I don't understand how this worked.
Look, they had to change the election process.
Yeah.
I guess so. And you killed it, man. There's a Hemsworth. Liam.
Yeah.
Oh, Liam.
Yeah, one of the least known Hemsworths.
That's right. Respect to him.
Zach, you coming to Summer League?
Oh yeah, I'll be there first weekend for sure, and you can catch me somewhere around there. I don't know. I'll be hiding from somebody.
What's your favorite thing to do in Vegas?
Oh, my favorite thing to do in Vegas is probably leave. I enjoy my time there, but that flight out of there is always great, isn't it? Like you feel like, yeah, I got out of here at the right time. Even if you didn't, you're just like, one more day would have killed me here. But no, I love seeing everybody there. We'll do some podcasts there. We'll do some schmoozing.
Yep.
And there's always a pool day. You got to have a pool day. You got to carve out time.
Hey, come join the Bamboo Boys. Yeah.
I think I learned that from you guys a long time ago that you got to have a pool day. So the pool day is going to be the best thing.
Absolutely.
Bring your t-shirts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Shirts on in the pool. All right, everybody, go follow Zach on Twitter /X @TalkHoops. Make sure you subscribe to The Bounce, essential NBA newsletter. You get it every morning. That's free. You should get yourself a subscription to The Athletic as well so you can read Zach and all his trade grades and all the great writers. Thanks again, man, for jumping on. Happy 4th of July. Say hi to everybody at that party tomorrow.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, guys.
All right, until next time, Clipper Bros.
You heard it here first. Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, Jeff Goldblum is the most influential scientist of the 1990s.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park and Independence Day.
Facts.
You can do it all.
Embrace the 4th of July, people.